Welcome back to the Business Foundation series. In episode 1, we talked about what a business actually is. We said a business is a system that creates and delivers value to a specific group of people consistently in exchange for money. In episode 2, we talked about how to find a business idea by spotting problems people will pay to have solved, by using your skills and experience, and by understanding the difference between an idea and a real opportunity. Today, we go one step further. Because here's the truth that most people skip. Having an idea is not enough. Believing in your idea is not enough. Even being passionate about your idea is not enough. Before you spend a single dollar, before you register a company name, before you print business cards or build a website, you need to know whether your idea is actually good. And the only way to know that is to test it. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to do that. We are going to talk about what business validation really means, how to test your idea before you spend any money, how to have the right conversations with potential customers, and the clear signs that tell you whether your idea has a real market or whether it is time to move on. Let us get into it. Let us start with a word that people throw around a lot but rarely explain properly: validation. When most people hear the word validation, they think of approval. They think it means someone saying, "Great idea, go for it." But that is not what validation means in business. In business, validation means proof. Specifically, it means proof that real people have a real problem and that they are willing to pay real money for a real solution. That is it. Validation is not a feeling, it is not a hunch. It is not your family telling you your food is delicious. It is evidence from the market that your idea can actually work. Now, here is something important I want you to understand. Most people validate their ideas in the wrong way. They ask the people closest to them. They ask friends and family. And friends and family almost always say the same thing. They say, "Yes, that is a great idea. You should definitely do it. I would totally buy that." And then the person spends 6 months and all their savings building the product or service. And when they launch, almost nobody buys. Why? Because friends and family do not want to hurt your feelings. They say yes to be supportive, not because they have genuinely thought about whether they would open their wallet. This is one of the most common and most painful mistakes in entrepreneurship, and it happens to beginners and experienced business owners alike. Here is a real example. A man in his late 20s had an idea for a premium meal prep service. He would prepare healthy, portion meals and deliver them to busy professionals every week. He loved cooking, he was passionate about health, and when he described the idea to his friends, every single one of them said they would subscribe. He spent 4 months developing recipes, buying equipment, designing packaging, and building a website. He launched. He got 6 customers in the first month. 5 of them were his friends. The sixth was his cousin. After 2 months, only 2 of those 6 were still paying. What went wrong? He confused enthusiasm with demand. People were excited about the concept, but excitement is free. Money is not. Real validation would have looked different. Real validation would have been him saying to potential customers, "I am starting this service. It costs this amount per week, and I need to know if you are in, not if you like the idea, not if you think it sounds cool, but whether you will actually pay for it right now." That is the difference between a compliment and a commitment. And only commitments build businesses. So, what is the proper definition of validation? Write this down. Your idea is validated when at least one person, who is not a friend or family member, agrees to pay for your product or service before you have fully built it. One real customer, that is the minimum. Everything before that is a hypothesis. Now, you might be thinking, is one customer really enough to build a business on? No, one customer is not enough to build a business. But one customer is enough to prove that a stranger will pay for what you are offering. And that changes everything. Because if one stranger will pay, others too. But if you cannot get even one stranger to pay, you have a problem you need to solve before spending any more time or money. Let me give you another example to make this clear. A woman wanted to start a tutoring business for children between the ages of 8 and 12. She did not spend months preparing materials or renting a classroom. She simply told 3 parents at her daughter's school that she was offering one-on-one tutoring sessions, described what she would teach, and named a price. 2 of the 3 parents said yes and paid a deposit that same week. That was her validation. She had not built anything yet. She had not bought any materials, but she had proof. Real people with real children who had a real need had just given her real money. She now had a business, not just an idea. That is validation. And it is that simple. Now that you understand what validation really means, let us talk about how to actually do it without spending money. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They think they need to build the full product first, then test it. They think they need everything to be ready before they can find out if it works. That is backwards, completely backwards. The rule in business is this: you test the idea before you build the product, not after. The goal of testing is to find out as quickly and cheaply as possible whether people will pay for what you are offering. And there are several practical ways to do this. The first method is called the pre sale. A pre sale means you offer your product or service for purchase before it fully exists. You describe what it will do, what it will cost, and when it will be available. Then you ask people to pay for it now. If people pay, you have validation. You also have money to fund the actual building of the product. If people do not pay, you have saved yourself from building something nobody wants. Here is a real example of this that most people do not know. Before Dropbox was Dropbox, before it was a product anyone could use, the founder made a simple video. The video was 3 minutes long. It showed what the product would do, how it would work, and why people needed it. There was no working app. There was no downloadable software. There was just a video. Overnight, hundreds of thousands of people signed up on a waiting list to be notified when it launched. That was validation. The founder did not build a single line of working code before confirming that an enormous number of people wanted exactly what he was describing. You do not need to be a tech startup to use this method. If you want to sell handmade bags, post pictures of the designs and say, I am taking pre-orders. If you want to offer a cleaning service, announce your service online and tell people to book and pay a deposit now. If you want to start a baking business, take orders for a specific weekend delivery date. The pre-sale is one of the most powerful validation tools that exists, and it costs nothing to try. The second method is called the minimum viable offer. A minimum viable offer means you strip your idea down to its most basic version and offer just that, not the full perfect version, the smallest version that still solves the core problem. Here's an example. Imagine you want to build a full catering company with a professional kitchen, a team of chefs, a branded van, and a website. That version will cost a lot of money and take a long time to build. But what is the core problem your catering company solves? People need good food at their events. You do not need a professional kitchen or a branded van to solve that problem right now. You need the ability to cook food and deliver it. That is the minimum viable offer. Cook a meal, deliver it to one event, get paid. See if the customer is happy, see if they would hire you again, see if they would recommend you to others. If yes, you have something worth building further. If no, you have learned an important lesson for almost nothing. This approach works in almost every industry. A graphic designer does not need a full agency with staff and a portfolio website. They need one client with a design problem. Go solve it. Get paid. That is your minimum viable offer. A fitness trainer does not need a gym or branded merchandise. They need one person who wants to get fitter and is willing to pay for sessions. Find that person. Train them. That is your minimum viable offer. The pattern is always the same. Start small. Solve the core problem for one real customer. Collect the money, then decide whether to grow. The third method is called the landing page test. If your business idea involves any kind of online presence, and most ideas do these days, you can create a simple one-page website that describes your offer and asks people to either sign up, pay a deposit, or leave their contact details. Then you drive a small amount of traffic to that page, either through social media posts, word of mouth, or a very small paid advertisement. You are not selling anything yet. You are measuring interest. How many people click? How many leave their details? How many actually pay? The numbers will tell you a great deal about whether your offer is attractive and whether people are motivated to act on it. Here's a real example. A young man wanted to create an online course teaching people how to manage their personal finances. Before recording a single lesson, he created a simple page describing the course, what it would teach, and what it would cost. He posted the link in 3 social media groups related to personal finance. In 1 week, 11 people paid for the course that did not yet exist. He then built the course, delivered it to those 11 people, collected their feedback, and used it to improve the content before selling to the next group. By testing first, he avoided spending weeks building something that might not have sold. He knew it would sell before he built it. Now, there's an important principle connecting all three of these methods. You are not looking for people to say they are interested. You are looking for people to take action. Signing up on a waiting list is better than saying, sounds good. Paying a deposit is better than signing up on a waiting list. Paying in full is the highest level of validation there is. The higher the action someone takes, the stronger your validation. Now, we need to talk about something that most business books get completely wrong. They tell you to go out and do customer interviews. They tell you to ask people what they think of your idea. But here's the problem with that advice. People are not honest when you ask them directly what they think of your idea. They do not want to seem negative. They do not want to discourage you. So they tell you what you want to hear. There's a much better way to talk to potential customers. And it starts with understanding one simple rule. Do not ask people what they think of your idea. Ask them about their life. Here's what I mean. If you ask someone, what do you think of my meal prep delivery service idea? They will almost certainly say it sounds great. But that tells you almost nothing useful. Instead, ask them about the problem. Ask them things like, how do you currently handle meals during a busy work week? How much time do you spend cooking on weekdays? Have you ever tried ordering meal kits or ready-made food? What did you like or dislike about it? What is the most frustrating part of eating well when you are busy? Those questions will give you something far more valuable. They will tell you whether the problem is real, how often it affects people, how much pain it causes, and what an ideal solution would look like. There is a book called The Mom Test, written by an entrepreneur named Rob Fitzpatrick. The core idea of the book is this: your mother will always say your idea is great because she loves you. So if you ask questions that even your mother would answer, honestly, you are asking the right questions. Questions about facts and behavior, not about opinions. Let me give you a practical example of the wrong way and the right way to have this conversation. Wrong way. You say, I'm thinking of starting a laundry pickup and delivery service. Do you think people would use it? The person says, yes, definitely. I think it is a great idea. People are so busy these days. That conversation tells you nothing. It is meaningless. The person has not committed to anything. They have simply agreed with you to be polite. Right way. You say, can I ask you something? How do you currently handle laundry? The person says, do it at home, but honestly, it piles up and I hate it. You say, how often does it pile up? The person says, almost every week. I end up spending my whole Sunday on it. You say, have you ever paid anyone to do it? The person says, no, but I have thought about it. You say, if there were a service that picked up your laundry, washed and folded it, and returned it in 24 hours, would that be useful? The person says, I would absolutely pay for that. You say, if it costs a certain amount per bag, would you try it this week? Now you are getting somewhere. The person has confirmed the problem is real, it happens regularly, it causes frustration, and they are open to paying for a solution. If they then say yes to the final question and give you their number or a deposit, that is validation. Here are the key principles for talking to potential customers. First, do the talking in person or by video call wherever possible. Written surveys and online questionnaires are too easy to answer carelessly. A real conversation allows you to hear the emotion in someone's voice and ask follow-up questions. Second, ask about the past, not the future. Do not ask, would you use this service? Ask, have you ever tried to solve this problem before? What did you do? What did it cost you? Past behavior is a much more reliable indicator of future behavior than hypothetical answers. Third, listen more than you speak. Your goal in these conversations is to understand their world, not to convince them your idea is good. If you find yourself talking more than 50% of the time, you are pitching, not learning. Fourth, take notes. You will hear patterns across multiple conversations. The same frustrations will come up again and again. Those patterns are your market research, and they are free. Fifth, aim for at least 10 conversations before drawing any conclusions. One conversation is an anecdote. 10 conversations are a pattern. 20 conversations start to feel like genuine insight. And here is the most important thing. If at any point during these conversations someone says, "When can I start using this?" or "How much does it cost?" that is your signal. That is a person who is ready to become a customer. Do not dismiss that. Do not say, "Oh, I am just doing research right now." Say, "Actually, I am taking on my first few clients now. Can I follow up with you tomorrow?" Turn the conversation into a sale whenever the door opens. Now let us get very practical. Let us talk about the green lights and the red lights. The signs that tell you your idea is worth pursuing further, and the signs that tell you it is time to adjust or move on. First, the green lights. The signs that your idea has a real market. Green light number one: people describe the problem without you prompting them. When you are having conversations and the person starts telling you about the frustration before you even explain your solution, that is a very strong signal. It means the problem is real and present in their mind. They are already aware of it. They do not need to be convinced that it exists. Green light number two: people have already tried to solve the problem themselves. If someone tells you, "I tried this app, but it was too complicated," or "I hired someone, but they were unreliable," or "I bought this product, but it did not really work," they are telling you something extremely valuable. They have already invested effort or money into solving this problem. That means they are motivated buyers. They are not just interested, they have skin in the game. Green light number three: people ask about price or availability during your conversations. As I mentioned earlier, when someone asks how much it costs or when they can start, they are signaling purchase intent. They have moved from being interested to being ready. That is a powerful green light. Green light number four: you can find existing businesses making money in the same space. This is counterintuitive to many people. They think that if competitors already exist, the market is saturated. But the presence of competitors is actually a green light. It means the market has already been proven. People are already paying for this type of product or service. Your job is to do it differently, better, or for a segment that is currently underserved. A real example: when Airbnb launched, hotels already existed. When Spotify launched, iTunes and CD shops already existed. When a new restaurant opens in a busy food district, other restaurants are already there. The competitors did not kill these businesses. They confirmed that the market existed. Now, the red lights, the signs that your idea may not have a real market. Red light number one: people still say it sounds interesting, but cannot name a specific problem it solves for them personally. When someone says, "That is a cool idea," but follows it up with silence or a vague response, they are telling you they do not actually feel the pain you are trying to address. General approval is not market demand. Red light number two: people say they would use it, but are unwilling to pay anything up front. This is one of the clearest red lights there is. If 10 people tell you they love the idea, but not one of them is willing to pay a small deposit or pre order amount, the enthusiasm is not real. Real demand converts into money. Fake demand stays as compliments. Red light number three: the only people who express interest are your friends and family. If you have spoken to 30 people and the only ones who showed genuine interest are people who know and care about you personally, you have a social support problem, not a business. Strangers need to want what you are selling. Friends and family wanting it tells you very little. Red light number four: you have to do a lot of convincing to get people to see the value. If every conversation requires you to explain at length why this is a problem worth solving, you are swimming upstream. In a healthy market, people immediately recognize the problem you are solving because they live with it. If you are spending more energy convincing people the problem exists than solving it, that is a warning sign. Red light number five: you cannot find anyone who has tried to solve this problem before. This might seem like a green light because it means no competition. But in reality, if nobody has ever tried to solve this problem, you should ask yourself why. Sometimes the answer is that you have discovered an untapped opportunity. But more often, the answer is that it is not a big enough problem for people to spend money on. The absence of any existing solution or any competitors is often a sign of absent demand, not an opportunity. Let me give you a real example that combines several of these signals. A woman had an idea to sell luxury hand painted stones as home decor. She was a talented artist, and the stones were genuinely beautiful. She posted pictures on social media. People commented with heart emojis and said they were gorgeous. She was encouraged. She spent 3 months building a full inventory of over 200 painted stones. She launched an online shop. In the first 2 months, she sold 11 pieces, mostly to people she knew. Looking back, all of the red lights had been there. People had praised the product, but nobody had asked for a price or tried to buy before she launched. She had not done a single pre sale. The interest was real, but it was aesthetic appreciation, not purchase intent. She later introduced a different offering. Instead of selling individual stones, she offered personalized painted stones as wedding favors, where couples could order sets of 50 or 100 with a custom design. Within a month, she had her first bulk order. She had pivoted from a product with weak demand to a specific use case with strong demand. And she had found that use case by going back to basics and asking potential customers about specific occasions where custom gifts were needed. The idea did not fail. The application of the idea was wrong. Validation helped her find the right application before it was too late. That is it for episode 3. Let me leave you with the single most important thing I want you to take away from today. The market does not care about your idea. The market only cares about what your idea does for the people in it. Your job is not to convince people your idea is good. Your job is to find the people who already know they have the problem and show them that you can solve it better than anything else available. If you do that, you do not need to convince anyone. The selling becomes almost effortless. Here is your homework before episode 4. Take the idea you are most serious about right now. Write down the specific problem it solves and exactly who experiences that problem. Then go and have 5 real conversations with people who fit that description. Not friends, not family, real strangers or acquaintances who would genuinely experience this problem. In those conversations, ask about their life, not about your idea. Ask about the problem. Listen more than you speak. Take notes. At the end of each conversation, if the energy is right, ask if they would be willing to pay for a solution. See what happens. What you learn from those 5 conversations will be more valuable than anything I or anyone else can tell you. In episode 4, we are going to talk about customers in depth. We are going to talk about how to truly understand the person you are building for, what drives their decisions, what they fear, and how to position your offer so that it feels like exactly what they have been looking for. That episode will change how you think about selling forever. Subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who has an idea they have been holding on to and has not tested it yet. They might need to hear this today. I will see you in episode 4. Take care of yourself and take care of that idea.